During the summers, I used to help my dad landscape through high school and then through college, and then as a school teacher I did that. And we'd periodically build a spec home here and there, or we'd build our own homes. And so we kind of knew a little bit, well, we thought we knew a little bit about starting a lumberyard and owning a lumberyard. I basically did most of the inside stuff, the ordering, the bill paying, stuff like that. And he was basically anything he could think of outside. He was our primary boom truck driver. The building up here, there's a second floor in it, and he basically single-handedly built that up in the trusses. And so, like I said, he kind of was the outside guy, and he would do or think of anything he could to stay out of the inside. On our way back from lunch that day, I specifically remember as we drove by Westside Church, just having a conversation with Dad about how quickly we can punch out of here, so to speak. Dad would always talk about or reference our time on stage and how quickly that curtain can fall on any one of our lives, or life can change quickly. Mom hardly ever stops out here, and that day she stopped out to talk to me about a funeral that our family was going to be going to. And we were talking about that, and she says, I'm going to head out, I'll go say bye to your dad. She goes, is he out there? I go, yeah, he's just working on the door out there, so let's swing out and see him. Well, what she told me after the fact was she drove past him and thought he was just sitting in the truck talking on a cell phone. And she rolled her window down, and he's just kind of a joker, so she thought he was just ignoring her and joking. Well, then she goes, I'll just let him be. And then she's like, no, I'll go see what he's doing. So she walked around and opened the door and could see that he had a traumatic head injury at that point. And so she ran in and hollered in the door, Jason, come quick, your dad's been hurt bad. So I ran over outside and called the ambulance, obviously, right away. They were here shortly, and they decided to airlift him right from our parking lot down to North Memorial. I never thought it'd be as serious as it was. I thought maybe a couple weeks or a month and he'd be semi-back to normal. But as we left from work here, and as we were driving down, I called North Memorial, and the nurse's words to me were, we rushed him in to do a CAT scan. We stopped the CAT scan halfway through and rushed him into emergency surgery due to the amount of bleeding on the brain. And I said, well, what's his prognosis? And she said, I would be extremely guarded at this point. And I'll just always remember her saying, be extremely guarded. I'm thinking, my dad could actually die. I remember asking him, I said, well, what's the prognosis? He's made it through surgery, you know, fantastic. And he's like, well, he goes, with a sober look, he goes, I guess I give him 50-50 maybe. He goes, but I don't expect him to survive. And I remember once again just being taken back, not necessarily fully realizing the severity of the injury. And I basically said to him then, I said, so you guys have done all you can do, and now I guess it's up to God, right? And he just looked at me and said, well, if that's what works for you. And I remember politely not wanting to say anything, but also thinking to myself, well, if I can't stand up for God in this situation when my dad's life is on the line, will I ever be able to do it? So I just remember politely saying back to him, it does work for me, and just leaving it at that. I can honestly say there wasn't anything that I've gone through to prepare me for this. It just shook me, and to a certain extent my faith, just to the rock bottom core. And I think there were a few days there where if God had a rope, I was hanging, dangling over a deep well, because that was all I had to cling on to. Right now he's on a feeding tube. He's breathing on his own. He is stable after having pneumonia a couple weeks ago. People talk about vacations and, you know, making plans for the future. What are you doing next week? What are you doing this summer? And it just kind of brought to light the reality of enjoy today. I mean, if you're walking with your spouse or your children or your parents, just look at them and really appreciate it, because that opportunity can be gone in a heartbeat. We're past, you know, some of the initial sadness and wondering why, and obviously those things still enter in it, but I think now we're trying to see God's bigger picture for this and where he is in this accident. and how lives are hopefully eternally changed because of this accident. And I know my dad would say, if one person is going to be in heaven someday because of this accident, he goes, I'd do it over again. And I think I just have to work on, as a son, keeping an eternal perspective.